Now, the rest of the story.
Well, hi everybody. It's been one of those days, and you don't have to be in agriculture to know exactly what kind of day I'm talking about. It's been one of those days. So I'm sure by the title of the video, you guys, well, plus the fact, tractor, disc mine, some not so bad looking grass standing in the field. We're down here making second cut, cutting second cut. We're making an attempt at cutting second cut. A little backstory on that. We got the 46, the 76, and both mowers ready to run last night. So all we had to do is jump in them and start cutting hay this morning. We're going to start nice and early, and yeah, we really didn't get rolling until it was what, 9:30 by the time I started cutting. It was, I think, sometime after 10 by the time both of us were cutting, and then by 11 o'clock I was down. Not just a little down, I was down and out, figured I wasn't cutting anymore today. I got down into one of the waterways over there. I really hadn't gotten much done, and I mean, in the grand scheme of things, I was pretty well I was still just kind of doing headlands and trying to get it opened up good, because Ryan was going to do the upper bottom, which still isn't done, by the way, but we'll get to that. Got to the headland and went to go pick the mower up. Picked the mower up, which meant, all the air that was up underneath the hood of the mower was able to escape, and I had smoke. Not a little bit of smoke, not dust, not, no, it was smoke. Anybody that's ever ran machinery and had it on fire before, I'm not saying I'm a professional, but it's happened a few times, and you can tell when you see it, for no uncertain terms, it's smoke. So obviously I shut it down, didn't crawl under there right away because I knew I was done. I drove up across the field, parked it, had my water jug with me, still full, so I had a half gallon of water. I kind of threw up under there, and nothing was on fire, but it was smoldering pretty good, or smoking pretty good. Well, one of the bearings went out underneath those turtle shells. Fine, it's happened before, I can deal with it. I've had them where they've welded in there before. I caught this one fairly quick, I think largely in part because the seal is out, which I don't think that would have been it's the original bearing, by the way. I've never had that end of the cutter bar off. So I mean, it's done its job. And what made it worse is I've never had that apart before, and I got it on camera. I got a couple videos I've done so far today, and this isn't the video I was planning on doing. I was going to do more of a voiceover, but you guys are going to have to cut me a break. I left it up at the farm, but I had both my cameras and my mounts, and I was going to do a bunch of just a voiceover of cutting hay on different videos like I did with raking, and we're so far behind right now that I really just trying to keep moving. The way this cutter bar, or this turtle shell bearing on the end, made it such a challenge is because you guys can't see it because of the tongue, but the gearbox that drives the cutter bar, the shaft goes down into the top of that turtle shell and bearing. So never having it apart before, I was kind of going in blind, not really knowing what was the best way to take it apart. and ultimately I'm probably gonna just do a video on it. I'll do a quick voiceover and maybe post it at 9 o'clock or something in the morning, the same day I'm posting this one. At least you guys will have some context as to what's happening. I'm not sure that's how it's supposed to come apart. I'm pretty sure it's not, but at least when I was able to drop the 4 bolts out of that gearbox, I was able to pry it up enough, and I was able to get the shell out of the way. I was able to get to the bearing, and it was an expensive fix. That last time I've done it, which was year before last, I put one in. It was $435, $450. Complete assembly. That's the shock hub, the bolt, the whole assembly that you drop down into the cutter bar. You just 4 bolts, and I mean, you're done. And it was $600 today. So needless to say, repairs are going up, and it's just been a frustrating day. I mean, I honestly was planning on having this done, this whole farm done today, and it's gonna be tight. And on top of that, by the time you take that out of the equation, which by the time I got back to the farm, tore it apart, went up to Bloomington, got the parts I needed, which originally I was figuring I'd have to go to Monroe, which that would be a 3-hour round trip just to get the parts. That's not actually working on anything. Was able to get this back together, back down here. So I was down from 1 o'clock till 2:30. No, 11 o'clock till 2:30. As in 2:30 was when I finally got back down here and was laying grass over again. So in that time, Ryan was down here cutting. Or was he? He wasn't able to cut for the whole time. He was actually back at the farm when at least my truck was down here, so he wasn't roading the 46 to come back to the farm. But he had a meeting that he had to be up there because he needed cell service, because you can't rely on your phone down here. I think maybe he got 15 acres cut, 20 acres cut in the time I was gone. And me being gone from 11 till 2:30, I can average between 9 and 12 acres an hour with this machine. Depends what kind of running you got. And this farm isn't all perfect running. About the best running is actually the upper bottom. I mean, because you do your headlands and then it's just back and forth. So me being gone for 3 hours, might as well figure there's 30 acres there that I was out cutting earlier. And it's now 6:30 at night. I got a half tank of fuel, maybe 2/3, give or take. And we got, the headlands are all done across the works. The bench is done, which is about 40% of the farm. The upper bottom has about 1/3 of that to go yet, which I'm really hoping Ryan comes back, because then he had to leave again. So he came back at 2 o'clock and he ran until 4 or 5, so he ran for a couple hours. And I'm hoping that he's going to be back down here to at least finish the upper bottom, because otherwise when I get done with this lower half, I'm going to go up and finish the upper bottom. Once I get the upper bottom done, then I got the pasture field, which is like 8 acres, then the neighbor's place. Now, probably not, I'm not doing all the neighbor's place. And I just had a mini lecture here earlier about how I shouldn't have been cutting this. That I should have let it go a little bit longer, because it's not as tall as it could be. It's not headed out. Let's explain that. It's the end of July. It's July 27th, I believe. I made this August 4th or 5th last year is when I cut it. Second cut last year. They're calling for a chance of rain tonight. which it sounds to me like it's going to be just maybe a heavy dew, essentially. Oh, Ryan is back down here running again, so that's good. I don't know, we're still up in the air as to whether or not we're going to get it done, if we're going to run till midnight, run till we're out of fuel, or run until we're done. There's a lot that's up in the air today, and it's really unfortunate that that's the case. So the problem is, this stuff is the best stuff. This Reed Canary, people hate it, depending on who you are, and overall I'm actually having really good luck with it. First cut yields really well, people tend to buy it, grind it up, put it in their TMR rations. Second cut, across, no matter where you're at on this whole area down here, if there's Reed Canary, it's as tall as this, give or take. And that's even on like the neighbor's place and the secondary bottom. And the problem is that up on that pasture piece, up on the bench, whatever grasses are there, whatever grasses that were seeded down, I don't know what's all there. It's some kind of nasty party mix, which I don't mean nasty as in it's poor quality or your cows won't eat it or it's bad for your cows. I mean it's a nasty mix in regards to the fact that it isn't coming back as healthy or as much quantity. And that stuff is headed out, at least the rye is on it. This stuff isn't headed out yet, but then the problem is, by the time we go through cut it, I'm gonna try to ted it tomorrow. Rake it, bale it, haul it out, try to figure out where I'm gonna go with it, because I don't know if there's gonna be 100, 200. I don't think there's 300 bales down here, I really don't. But the deceiving thing about this is that even on the areas where there's not much there, it's still producing something, which that's what tests your mental strength, or your mental health, is doing some of those areas where it's light. If you guys can see where this grass down here is pretty much to that top of the hood here. Well, there's pieces up there where it's hardly halfway up that, and it doesn't seem like you're not getting much coming out the back. But by the time you go through, rake it up, it does produce a windrow, you're able to get something. So even the areas that have low quantity are still able to produce, while you still got the areas down here that are still going to produce a fair amount. Is it going to produce 431 bales? No. That's what we got for first cut. For second cut, I think if I get 300 down here, I'd be happy with 200. Last year I averaged, of course it didn't include the bench, but for second cut down here I got what, 277 bales on the upper, the lower, the neighbor's place, and the other neighbor's place. While saying that, the stuff isn't as heavy as last year, to my knowledge. And it might seem like it's not consistently heavy across all 120 acres, but it averages out to where it sneaks up on you and you end up having a fair amount of hay. Those steep waterways over there, the nitrogen, the radiate, the dry fertilizer, I mean, those hillsides were mined, because I do know one of the previous people that had it before me, I mean, I think a couple guys before me, they would make it, but of course then they never put anything down. I think I'm the first person that ever did put anything down on those waterways, and I went through and I was cutting them, or I was cutting the one side of them, Ryan did the other side, and that stuff was actually pretty comparable to what's going through the mower right now on those steep hillsides. So it's just the thing that you got to try to remember is first cut on that 11 acres my brother's place, let's use that as an example, 53 bales. On another 12-acre piece, we got 56. That's alfalfa, okay? Second cut, we got 13 bales on the one piece, and we got 24 bales on the other. And that's alfalfa, the good stuff, right? So I think the problem that we're dealing with, we as in the operators, we got that mental image of what first cut was. If you want to know what first cut looked like, look around me. See that right there? You see this right there? All that along there where there's a 5-foot drop, where if you dropped into that, you're going to break something, and probably bones on top of it, to be honest. We're comparing our second and third cuts to that continuously. Whether we want to admit it or not, subconsciously, it's just what we're doing. That's just how it is. Ryan, as far as having issues, he isn't having any of that as far as I can tell. He's just having to stop and go talk to people because he's got people stopping to visit. Me, I've had breakdowns. It's bailing all over again with the 566. I'm not picking on the 566, but I had that bearing go out in the cutter bar, which was bad enough, and then I dropped in. I went 5 feet on the slower bottom, starting in on it. My power takeoff quit. Just done. Started popping a couple times. That was kind of alarming. Well, did some examination. I did talk to Sloan's because I initially thought for the mechanical snapping I was hearing, it was an internal mechanical issue. Upon some further inspection, the solenoid, the wire that goes to the solenoid, the connector, the wire is exposed. And I believe that it is. It's what's causing the fail, where it's not giving a good connection. And I'm bouncing around and, driving like a lunatic. And what's happening is it's not making steady contact, and the power takeoff is engaging and unengaging really fast. And that's why I was hearing the mechanical, it was the power takeoff trying to engage when the tractor was at wide open throttle because it had just happened. So it's been an eventful day, and I don't really appreciate eventful days when I'm cutting hay. Cutting hay should be the most, honestly, the most peaceful, laid-back field work that you do. That's my opinion. Baling is a lot more stressful. Tedding is pretty mindless too, to be honest. But baling, that's stressful. Well, you guys saw why baling was so stressful for me. And to make matters even more interesting is I don't have Ryan on Saturday. So I got Dad will be here. He'll be able to rake for me. But this down here is a 2-day job. I mean, maybe not, because Dad wasn't able to run the rake wide open for first cut because the stuff was so heavy. I do believe he'll be able to come down and wing that rake out wide open and just turn and burn. And I'll probably end up bringing both balers down. The reason being is that Ryan should be here Sunday, so he can at least come down and help finish Sunday. I might try to get him down here Saturday for at least a little bit. But the 566 has the preservative on it. I like going and hitting all the headlands with preservative just because they tend to hold moisture, and Dad likes to go around and open up, do the headlands with the rake, so that way when he's turning around in the main body of the field, he's not dragging those headlands everywhere. It makes it a little bit easier for the baler operator also, because then you're not trying to rake those giant mounds of material that he's catching with the rake when he's spinning around. So do the headlands, and then I honestly would probably jump into the 82 and the 569 and then bail with that. Horsepower better baler, more reliable baler. I'm not sitting on eggshells, stepping on eggshells, worried about the 566 going down on me, which it wasn't so much the 566's fault as that nasty roller chain. That roller chain was junk. But we put deer chain on it now. I used it the other day doing waterways, so it's been ran, and I'm not quite so worried about that. So I don't know. 250 bales, is that a good guess? I mean, I wish it all looked like this, but it doesn't. And then I do have part of the neighbor's place where it's got white clover in it, probably 4 or 5 acres. There's probably 5 or 7 acres there I'm not going to cut. For number one, I'm going to let it go till third cut. Number two, I'm running on a time crunch right now. I really want to come down and ted tomorrow, and it's looking right now, I'm not even sure if we're going to get done cutting yet tonight. So my plans are just disintegrating as far as that goes. I mean, I gotta send Ryan down here to finish cutting. I've done it before, and go through and ted the majority of this. The reason I'm windrowing it out, even the light stuff, is because they are calling for a chance of rain, 50-60% chance at 2, 3, and 4 o'clock tomorrow morning. After that, they're not calling for rain at all. They're calling for blue sky and awesome, which I wouldn't really turn away rain for our row crops, but the next couple days gives us a window to get it made. And to finish it off, right back to where I'm talking in circles and I don't finish my conversations. The reason I'm going through and we're going to make it anyway is because I have a window to get this stuff made right now. If I don't do it now, in the next 4 or 5 days, it's looking like it'd be another week and a half minimum, probably 2 weeks before I could come down and cut this again. Would I gain much more material? I mean, by letting it go for 2 more days or 2 more weeks? I don't know. What you also have to factor in is I'm trying to do a third cut off this. Well, to do a third cut off this, if I get it cut now, I'm figuring September 15th to the end of September, because this will be the last stuff that we cut for the year. I'll let it go after all of the alfalfa again. That gives it enough time, maybe a little bit more time, to hopefully come back and look just as nice as this again for a third cut. Versus, okay, I might be gaining a little bit more material for second cut, but how much am I shorting my third cut? I can literally flip a coin and I'd probably be farther ahead by just saying it's a 50-50 shot. I honestly don't know. Grass is finicky. Maybe it isn't. Maybe I got this figured out more than what I feel I do, because I'm overthinking a lot of it right now, because it's still a commodity. It's not feed. It's a commodity for me. And trying to produce a crop that somebody wants, corn and beans is easy. Everybody wants corn and beans. Low quality rained on grass. Good luck. And in closing, because I only got 30 minutes worth of footage or space, and I got 24 minutes. I got 80 bales first cut sitting outside yet. I'm not sure where I stand on cow feed for the year, but I might, not all of it, but I'm considering pulling 20, 30 bales of it, taking it home and stacking it in my feed line, Not because it's low quality, not because it got been sitting out for how long, but because it is the quality that it is and it's first cut, I would rather feed that versus my second cut. So it's just another one of those management choices that I got to make a decision on. But you guys, what you're seeing me drive around in circles doing right now, this is probably the best grass that's down here on the bottom, so it's not a very good example of what's down here. I'm not leaving much stubble. I regret that. I think that might have been what hurt me after first cut. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. I'll know a lot more once we get the hay baled off of it, because at least I have last year as a reference to kind of compare what I did last year and this year, and doing the fertilizer, doing the deer antler. Huh. I'm gonna go grab that thing right now. Say maybe I'm not doing, maybe we're sitting just as good as we were last year. It's just, it's really hard not to second guess yourself. Where'd you go? There you are. I'll show it to you real quick, and I gotta get going. Something's been chewing on it. Oh, the mower. Got it right there. Later.